This is Pace Per Mile with host Chris Nicholas. Take us on your next run or ride and prepare for race day with Pace Per Mile.
Welcome back to Pace Per Mile. I'm Chris Nicholas, and the news story of the day today comes from Competitor Group. Today with us is Tracy Sundlun. You were one of the co-founders of the Competitor Group races, the rock and roll races. You were very much in the decision to decide not to give prize money about 4 months ago, but you saw, along with others in the office, that was probably the wrong decision. Tracy Sundlun, Competitor Group Senior Vice President of Events. Welcome to Pace Per Mile today.
Glad to be here.
4 months ago, the social networking platforms and the news, competitor groups now not offering prize money, and that was the story back then, but now 4 months later decided to change that. Can you bring us back 4 months and tell us the decision why to stop it?
Well, first let's correct it. It was not a unanimous vote of the senior leadership. I just lost that battle. My background is in the performance end of the sport, coaching at college internationally, and I actually ran and continue to run the elite athlete component here at the Competitor Group. But it was a perception by a majority at that time of the senior leadership that this was not who we were, and it was not what our event stood for, or the brand, or that our participants, it didn't add to the participant experience. Try as I and others might, we didn't win that battle. Go 4 months, and that same leadership sits there and listens to our participants, listens to the sport, listens to the running community, and they heard. They recognized that no, that decision isn't who we are, either as individuals or a company. It isn't who we represent, our position in the sport. And the front of the pack is relevant. They're aspirational. They're inspirational. And as any good, well-meaning group of people, we need to change that. And thus the reversal announced last night. I'm thrilled. But I can also say, from the ownership on down, and anybody who knows me, this isn't something that's ever going to go backwards, or I wouldn't be here.
And what we learned from experiences like this is that, especially this day and age with social networking and email and say, hey, this isn't right, you probably heard from not only those that are everyday athletes like me, you're much a better athlete than I am, but from the elite level athletes as well. They were probably responding to this.
We heard from all spectrum, and it wasn't just an initial yelp. It was long and continuous, and my guess is if they were long-distance runners, didn't have the character that they have, they would have screamed a whole lot louder. I'm just proud to be a part of the sport. It was avocation. It became occupation. It's been what I live for since I was 12 years old. And I'm proud to be involved with a competitor group and a group of people that listen, a group of people that running is who they are and it's in their heart. They all look at the sport slightly differently. They recognize what is the right thing to do. And we've got an ownership group. They recognize what the right thing to do is. I'm thrilled to be where we're at right now, and everybody here at the Competitor Group is too.
With the Competitor Group, Competitor running the Rock and Roll Marathon Series and Half Marathon Series, it is run by individuals that are pounding the pavement. Your experience in running, I think, will help them understand that you, among others in the office, were going to bat for them. Tell us about your background so that our listeners can understand your aspect of this change.
Well, you misspoke a moment ago. You're probably a much better athlete than I am. I was a coach. I recognized early on at about age 12 that as a runner I really sucked. But I was passionate. I did have an eye and believed that we could help people and change the world through running and through coaching, and one step to the other, different stops along the way. This conversation isn't about me, and like the mistake, the reversal here. One of the absolute fascinating things about creating the Rock and Roll Marathon series and the original Rock and Roll Marathon, everybody looks at this and what's going on right now as, of course. Well, when we created the first Rock and Roll Marathon, people thought we were flat out nuts. Some of the people that partner with us refused to take stock. No, you got to pay me because this thing ain't going to work. The original one in San Diego, 144 permits for it to exist. Hotels didn't believe anybody would travel to run. We had to guarantee every hotel room block. But back then, the largest inaugural running event in history had been 7,500 people at the LA Marathon, which was 13 years earlier. Nobody was creating marathons back then. And yes, it took off. Everybody thought they were going to see the Rolling Stones at every block. They didn't. And you'd think after that first one, it would have been smooth sailing. When we created the first Rock and Roll Half Marathon in Virginia Beach, a major running publication bet against us. They said it's impossible. Nobody will travel to run a half marathon. The largest inaugural half marathon back then was 2,900 people. We said we were going to sell it out at 15,000. We sort of thought, half the distance, twice the fun. You'll be alive to enjoy it at the finish. And we thought the sport had changed enough that people would travel to run a half marathon if we sold it like a major marathon. We were right. The industry was wrong. Now, fast forward 13 years or 12 years or whatever the math is, the running community was right and our leadership was wrong. And I'm just so thrilled that we're in a position to reverse that. There is nothing that is more exciting than youngsters trying to be all that they can be and growing. I put on the National High School Indoor and Outdoor Championships through the National Scholastic Athletic Foundation, something else I'm involved in. To see these people that 90% of them, that 90% of the Olympic team in 4, 8, 12 years will be alumni, and to watch that progress and watch them grow, it's absolutely the most thrilling thing in the world. And to see the progress, see these kids come here with the dream of making the Olympic trials or perhaps making the Olympic Games, and to help facilitate that and give them an opportunity to both run in a world-class environment and then reward them, there's nothing like it. And you can't set limits on an athlete. One of our great stories is a young lady who came from Ethiopia to run our Carlsbad 5,000, I think in 2002, and the local coach said, will you please just bring her along with the star that you're inviting? I think one day she might be good. She came. She finished 11th. Didn't even win $100. But 2 years later, she won the Olympic gold medal. Her name is Meseret Tafar. She's been back many times. She's got 2 Olympic gold medals, God knows how many world records. And because somebody just didn't say no. They gave her an opportunity. And that's what I'm about. That's what the competitor group is about. It's about that for those men and women who've changed their lives and lost 100 pounds. It's about charity runners changing the world $1 at a time. Charity runners have raised $300 million net in our events. Drugs that are saving people's lives the research was funded by our events. It's thrilling. This is what drives us. And at the same time, they're being all that they can be, the front of the pack. Those athletes as we go into this Olympiad, those people need every bit of support, and we're never, ever, ever going back.
Take us through that. You have 3 elements that you announced yesterday, and one of those is chasing down the dream. Explain to our audience what exactly that means.
To make the Olympic team, you have to make that team in the Olympic trials, and you have to qualify for the Olympic trials. And you can do that in the marathon, in the track. You do that next time will be in Eugene, Oregon, for the 100 to the 10,000 and all the field events and the like. But for the marathon, it will be it looks like in either Houston or Los Angeles. They haven't made that decision yet, in early 2016. But you have to qualify to be in those Olympic trials. And you qualify to be in those trials by running a certain standard I think it's 2:18 for the men in the marathon, 2:43 for the women in the marathon, or 1:05 in the half marathon, or 1:15 for women in the half marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that for a length of time in advance of the event. That trials qualifying period is open. It is the dream of every athlete to compete in the Olympic trials and the Olympic Games. And so our Chasing Down the Dream program, essentially any one of our 30 half marathons and Lord knows how many marathons, you can qualify. Obviously, you have more shots to do it at a half marathon, and so many, many people are qualifying off the half marathon now as opposed to the marathon. And for the 2012 trials, we had 25% of the folks, I think the number was 89, that ran their qualifying mark in a rock and roll event.
Mm-hmm.
And 69 or 19.8% of them, the ones that qualified, did it for the first time in one of our events. We want to beat those numbers. So you come and you qualify, you'll be rewarded financially. We're also going to have a couple of our events, looks like in Las Vegas and maybe San Antonio. San Jose will be two events where we will focus all of our efforts because of the time of year, the speed of the course, the weather, on bringing people to those events just to qualify. We'll probably even create pacers to get people to qualify. Some of our friends and the very famous athletes that will have already qualified, they'll help us do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's chasing down the dream. If you've run certain times, automatically you get complimentary entries, you get travel, housing, in a roundabout way. We're just trying to take the Olympic trials qualifying to the people, to each of these athletes in their part of the country at the time of year that works for them, fit within their schedule, and hopefully stand there and just get thrilled every weekend when more qualify.
We're talking with Tracy Sundlun, the Senior Vice President of Events for the Competitor Group and Rock and Roll Marathon and Half Marathon Series, co-founder of the series as well. And Tracy, how important is that elite athlete to receive those rewards of cash and travel and being able to get to that next race to eventually qualify for the Olympics? How important is that in the eyes of the everyday runner?
I'm sure that varies. Let's put it to you this way. When you start mentioning the Olympics, whether you're a sports fan or not, the Olympics and the Olympic dream inspires everybody. And people can get that. And people can get trying to be all that they can be. But I think another part of this game, and perhaps the one bright spot in the last 4-month cloud, is that people in the performance end, it was made very clear that they realized that just running fast isn't enough. The front of the pack has to be relevant to every other element of the event. Just like you have to have a good expo, or you have to have a good course, or you want to have a good announcer, or good bands, or a good charity program, it has to connect. And it's incumbent upon those athletes, it's incumbent upon their coaches and managers to help make them more relevant, help them grow. And a company like ours and the media, we have to help you, the athletes have to help you, help them. We can have all these great performances, but if it's a tree falling in the forest, it's missed. I mean, people in the creation of the Rock and Roll Marathon series, people think bands, music, cheerleaders, fun, economic impact, charity running. But we've had, in our history, 25 world records, 16 American records, 11 world bests, 11 world wheelchair bests, 11 U.S. all-comers records. People don't, and I gave you some facts about our Olympic trials qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
We've had alumni win 40 Olympic medals. I mean, this is staggeringly spectacular athletic stuff, and that's not our reputation. And that's on us. We have to do a better job. The people that love our sport, like you, the media, we have to do a better job of telling our story for the mainstream participant, for the mainstream media, for the layperson.
4 months ago, when Competitor made the decision to stop providing the elements that we're talking about today,
right,
did you feel that then...
Appearance and travel monies and... and
Did
reduced
that
prizes. Yep.
did that attention off the elite athlete, did that hinder their performance or their drive?
Most athletes, when they're told no, they don't listen. They just dig down deeper. What I think that it did, it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for the sport, that such a company that's so deeply involved would think that that's the direction that we should go. So that's on the industry, that's on the athletes. My God, what have we done to have such an involved company and group of people think that's our value and that's what we should do? On the other hand, when we started to listen, when everybody started to listen to the response and the feedback, I think it was a bit reaffirming. My gosh, we probably have a bigger space in the running world than maybe we thought we did. And we have more responsibility than maybe we thought we did.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, we all come out of this in a better place. I certainly hope so. I'm an eternal optimist. I never, ever, ever, ever give up. And I believe in both the sport and all the participants that we have.
And that's good to hear, and our audience definitely would appreciate hearing that. And Tracy, based on seeing the social networking, some of the emails that have come across my desk, just the perception of your announcement yesterday and the reaction in the running community, this has been something that's been a great thing to hear. And I think it's going to be something that hopefully will increase the number of registered runners for rock and roll. But I think really this was meant to not only reward those elite level athletes that you and I know, the names that come to mind, the Ryan Halls, the Mebs, the Shalanes, but also that athlete that we don't know, that future elite athlete. Am I right?
Absolutely. I love Ryan Hall. He doesn't need us. He can run anywhere he wants. He's over that hump financially. But those folks that, if they win our U.S. Grand Prix, our new U.S. Grand Prix, and can make $15,000 on that day and a couple $1,000 along the way at some of our other events to win that Grand Prix, they can live on that, they can train on that, they can follow that Olympic dream. And are they going to get rich? Are they living in Beverly Hills? No. But chasing the Olympic dream is just such a special thing. You just got to want it worse than anybody else. And we need to help support that a bit.
And certainly you've made the decision to do that. Tracy, I know we're wrapping up the interview here in a few minutes, and I just have a couple more questions. And if you could help us explain the Grand Prix a little bit. You've got 29 rock and roll half marathons out there, as well as the EDP Lisbon Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, if I read right, about $47,000 in prize purse money. Can you explain how that can be awarded?
All right, so there's several pieces to it. First of all, yes, for the U.S. Open elite athletes, there's cash prize. You win place and performance-based points at any one of our 30 half marathons around the world. The one in Dublin, San Diego, Philadelphia, and San Antonio, which is the final, and they get double points, double place points. And you'll accumulate points through the year. The top three right now, and actually our ownership just added a few more bucks into it, will share in that prize at the finish. But along the way, every one of those events has both place and performance-based prize money and travel money for those that are qualified. So that's that piece. But that's also attached to, it's now in its second year, our age group Grand Prix. From 18 to 80, they've got a similar program, which the prizes, are tour passes and merchandise and the like. But they're coming from all over the country, all over the world.
So what we can go forward and say to the runners, those that are getting ready to run their first rock and roll, or those that are gearing up to sign up and plan their vacations around a rock and roll, is that you're back supporting the elite athlete, especially supporting them with prize money. That now in every rock and roll marathon or half marathon, there's going to be prize money.
The answer is yes. Now, we always had prize. For the last 2 years, the prize money has been performance-based. You run a certain time, you got a certain amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have added guaranteed prize money. So, candidly, in a local race, the guy ran 110 or 111, they're going to win money now. A woman runs 120 and she wins, she's going to get money. Yet if you go and run sub 105 and you finish 10th, you're going to get $1,000. It's trying to both reward that leading local runner as well as that emerging elite as well as that super elite. We'll still have some of our signature races, our featured races, Rock and Roll San Diego, Rock and Roll Philadelphia, Carlsbad 5000, strong appearance money and prize purses and international fields. We'll have some very special announcements on the Carlsbad 5000 very soon that I think people will get pretty excited about.
Definitely want to hear that and spread the news to our runners. I think it was important to chat with you today because we could certainly read a press release or read it in the news about the changes that you've made, but I can hear your passion about the rock and roll series, but more importantly, the passion that and the response that you were getting, I'm sure, over the last 4 months, and especially when that announcement was made 4 months ago, and you wanted to do as much or win the battle to bring it back. And it sounds like, based on what I hear in your voice today, you have at least won the battle, and you're going to continue to improve these races and the experience for that runner and that elite athlete.
Yes, we're back, and we ain't ever going to turn back again. But it's not just that I won the battle. I believe that the sport won a battle. I know that our entire staff feels like they won a battle too because they are the running world. They care as much as I do. They just don't speak as loudly or as verbose. But no, we're really, really thrilled here. We're doing the right thing. Everybody knows here that we're doing the right thing. On a personal note, I apologize to those that we've hurt over these last 4 months. Hope they'll give us a chance to make it up. 20, 30 years, or I hope will outbalance 4 months.
And I believe it will. Tracy Sundlun, the Senior Vice President of Events for Rock and Roll Marathon and Half Marathon Series with Competitor Group. You have our support here at Pace Per Mile. We can't wait to hear about the new announcements that you have coming down the pipe. We'd love to share that with the audience. We'd love to make sure that every athlete out there knows that the Rock and Roll Marathon and Half Marathon Series, it's an experience, and it's important for us to support that and get back on that bandwagon and support the series. So, Tracy, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today and tell us a little bit more in depth about the changes, the positive changes at Competitor Group.
Well, it's an honor, truly, and we're only as good as the feedback that we get. We want to serve that running community. That's why we got involved, and that's why we stay involved. And when we do something right, please say that we did it right. But when we do something wrong, do not keep quiet.
That's a great message. Tracy, thank you for joining us here on Pace Per Mile. We'd love to have you back on the show in the future. The door's always open.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
I'm Chris Nicholas, and this has been another edition of Pace Per Mile.
Thanks for listening to this week's Pace Per Mile show. For more on the latest news, reviews, and more, check out pacepermile.com. Like us on Facebook, and join in the conversation on Twitter. Until next week, keep putting in the miles and keep your goals high.